Today we have 2 more cases and a must-see video, but first I want to share some important things. Still, if you're impatient, down here I'll leave you the exact minute when the story starts so you can go straight there. First of all, I want to tell you that since yesterday the channel store is open again with the latest campaign, and for now until further notice. If you're considering a t-shirt or gift, now's the time, because we don't know when it will open again. It's only going to be a few days, probably a week and a half, 10 days, maybe a little more, and then it closes. So please, I'm telling you to stay alert, because after that it won't open again until further notice. And as a way of saying thank you, all orders will have a 50% discount on shipping. And if you buy 2 or more items, you'll get completely free shipping anywhere in Argentina, just like you heard. Take advantage of it and more. Every order, whether for 1 item or more, includes a gift, a small surprise inside the package. Letting you know, don't miss out. You can request the catalog anytime and with no obligation via the WhatsApp number on the screen. Remember, Mondays at 6 post-meridian feature a new short story segment. Many of you still don't know about it, and I would love for you to listen to them, to get to know them, because even though they're very short stories, they're absolutely worth it. Lastly, I'll leave the WhatsApp number down here where you can send me your experiences in audio format. It doesn't matter how long they are, it doesn't matter, not the amount. You can add photos, videos, drawings, or anything you think complements your story. Then, if it's selected and I have any questions, I'll be writing to you. Friends, that's it for the intro. Stay until the end, listen to the stories, and tell me what you think about the video at the end. Let's get started. I have several experiences, mainly in my house, where a lot of really interesting and strange things happened. But in this first instance, I'd like to tell you about something that happened to me at my workplace. A funeral parlor in Buenos Aires. I was a hostess at this funeral home, and as everyone knows, my job was mainly to be attentive during the wake, making sure everyone there felt comfortable by serving coffee and drinks. In general, for example, on one occasion something more than interesting happened. We had received the body of a woman. I remember perfectly the moment she arrived, because I chatted for a few minutes with the guys from the transfer ambulance who told me that a doctor had to come in the next few hours. This doctor showed up about 2 hours later because she had to remove the pacemaker from the body of this deceased lady. Since there weren't many of us at the funeral home at that time, I attended to her myself, and this woman gave me a really bad impression. I've rarely met such unfriendly people. She barely greeted us when she arrived or after removing the pacemaker. These are things I don't understand, but there are many people like that going around in life. Still, what shocked me the most and made me sad was seeing how badly she had treated this woman's body, leaving her disheveled and untidy. I got the feeling that she treated her with the same contempt she treated me. Anyway, I always used to talk to deceased people, greeting them and treating them with delicacy.
I closed the chapel. I had closed it so the doctor could do that. Then I closed it again and I spoke to the deceased lady. I spoke to her because it was my habit to talk to the deceased, and I said, "Oh, look, how did they leave you? But I'm going to fix you up nicely. Don't worry, everything is fine now. All the people are waiting for you there to say goodbye to you one last time, to bid you farewell." And well, I put my fingers in her hand. I fixed her clothes because this doctor was pretty rough when taking her things off. She messed her up completely. And well, I put her hands back together, interlaced. I fixed all the clothes she had on. I put some cotton so nothing would show. There's always someone who wants to look, open, peek. There's always a nosy person, so I fixed her up well and she looked perfect. I reopened the room and asked her son to come closer since she looked better. Everything was fine, and I stayed until around 10 or 11 p.m. People came, her son told me, "Look, we're going to leave and come back tomorrow at 7 in the morning." It was very cold, I remember, so they left. I locked the door after them and they left. That place is ugly and creepy because of all the trees. That block is like 2 or 3 blocks in a row with little light, and that place is ugly, actually the whole block. Well, people leave. I go to pick up some cups that were left that they had used for coffee, to wash the cups. A very, very small kitchen that I could barely fit into. So I go to look at her again and I say, "Well, the people have left. They'll come back again tomorrow." They greet the deceased. Then I close the chapel, which is where the deceased is, and some funeral items. They have a place called El Intimo, which is a place where people could stay all night so they could rest. After finishing everything I had to do, I locked myself in. In that place, there was a heater. It was really warm inside. In that room, a little room about 2 meters by 2.5 meters, pretty small.
I lay down on the couch to try to rest a bit before getting everything ready for the reception of the relatives at 7 in the morning. The thing was, I woke up suddenly because there was a light and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I sat up on the couch and realized that the light was coming from the main room. You see, I had left the door a bit open, just like that. Maybe because of a draft or something else unexplained, it opened. But the strangest thing wasn't finding myself alone with the door open or this light in front of me or a person. And it was none other than the woman we were holding the wake for, standing under the light, looking at me with her hands clasped. She looked well, and even more so because she was smiling at me very warmly. I stood there for a few seconds looking at her and returning the same smile. It didn't scare me at all, quite the opposite. I felt it more like an act of gratitude from her. I shifted in the armchair to get comfortable and stand up, but at that moment, when I lost sight of her, that split second disappeared. I immediately went to the chapel, went in, saw her in the coffin, and it was impossible not to get emotional. I thanked her, told her to be at peace and to go in peace because that's what her family wanted. I was probably always very polite. This applies not only to relatives saying goodbye to a loved one, but also to those leaving who, though unable to speak, are still present. That ceremony exists solely to say goodbye until we meet again. On another occasion, something happened, and I would also like you to hear about it.
Well, I had already mentioned that I worked as a funeral shoe shiner, and they sent us to different places. That's how I traveled around various parts of Buenos Aires. This time, I thought of asking one of the guys who worked the night shift if he had ever experienced any special situation. And, well, he told me a story, which is this one.
In that same place, months before, he told me that once from the office, he started hearing a noise that he initially thought was a cat. The thing is, it was on the first floor, everything was closed, and it was very unlikely that anyone could get in. The only possible place was a large window that, although it was always closed, was occasionally open to let the air circulate. Even so, he kept hearing it and decided to check every last corner, but he had no luck because he couldn't find it. And maybe none of you, upon hearing this, can imagine how this story will end. The next day, the carriage house owner, unaware of this and alone, also heard it. She checked but found no cat, though she did notice one detail. The crying wasn't from an animal but a baby, and realizing this made everything clear. A day before, when it all started, they had brought the body of a very small baby in a cardboard box. Some procedures were still pending because of a delicate issue that occurred after his death. And the thing was that the owner realized that the crying was coming exactly from the room where this box was waiting for its process, where that little body was, which surely went through something horrible before dying. And the detail is that every time the room was left alone and in the dark, the crying would hide. So this woman took a rosary from her office, a little holy water that she always had, and placed it on top of this cardboard box, asking for peace and rest for this baby. As they always say, do you believe it or not? After that moment, the crying stopped. I wanted to share with you an experience that happened in my house, a very old house with a lot of history. At that time, I used to sleep in one of the bedrooms. Today, we're in another one, but that one is still exactly the same, without any changes. Is the closet in the photo still there? This piece of furniture witnessed and took part in that very strange moment. One night I woke up at about 3:15 in the morning for a very specific reason. It sounded like someone hit it as hard as possible. 3 loud bangs on the closet in the photo. But what was even more curious was realizing that the knocks seemed to come from behind, from the wall, from where there is nothing and no one who could ever do this. And not only that, but these knocks ended up moving the furniture about 30 or 40 centimeters forward. It was incredible, confusing and terrifying as I didn't know what had happened or why.
Everything was out of place. My first thought? The first thing that came to my mind wasn't something paranormal, but the first thing I thought was, they broke into my house to rob me, so I checked the whole place. I went down to the basement, to the kitchen, everywhere, and I didn't see anything strange, nothing out of the ordinary. Then I thought my sister was trying to prank me or make a joke. I checked her room to see if that was the case, but my sister was sound asleep. That's when I said to myself, hey, I don't have any other option. I can't find any other logical explanation. How could it be that I had this big wardrobe? 3 knocks from the back side, as if someone had pushed it from inside the wall itself, and it ended up all moved like that. So, well, the truth is I was overcome by a terrible fear. And well, nothing bad ever happened to me again. After that, something good happened to me. Something nice, an experience.
But the other experience was nice. It didn't just happen to me, it also happened to my mom, which is why it was gratifying to have someone else who could confirm the truth of something so strange that few would take seriously.
I was taking a nap on a Sunday afternoon, and my mom had also gone to take a nap at the same time, and I was sleeping on my side, facing the wall, and I started to feel as if something was shining a light on me from behind. At first I stayed still, as if I had sleep paralysis and I couldn't move. I began to notice with my eye as if someone was shining a light on me from behind, with a powerful white flashlight emitting intense light. And for a few moments I felt a very deep fear. I felt very vulnerable and unprotected. But automatically, after a few seconds, I realized it wasn't something bad, and I calmed down. And I felt, I don't know, like a very deep peace. Well, after that, I kept sleeping normally, and the next day, when my mom came back from work, since I trusted her a lot, even talking about these things, because she also believed in them, we were never skeptical, we always believed. I told her, hey mom, guess what happened yesterday? This, and this. She says, Juanpi, did you know the exact same thing happened to me yesterday afternoon as it did to you? I felt like someone hugged me. So I don't know, maybe it was an angel we have who was protecting us. Maybe it was a family member, a loved one who is no longer here and came by to say hello. Well, but it was an experience, honestly, a beautiful one, very beautiful, different from the other one I told you about.
Friends, thank you so much for making it to the end and for joining me once again. I'll leave you now with the video I mentioned at the beginning. I'd love to know what you think about the video and also about the other 2 stories. See you in a few days. Sending a big hug. Bye. The video in question is this one plus 2 more from different cameras. It would have been ideal for me to be able to show you the audio of the person behind this recording so you could really hear how he says it, how he tells it, what he saw, what happened. That's fundamental for me, but they asked me to mute it to avoid work issues. That's understandable, but you just need to know this person works in security. He's watching the cameras and suddenly sees a person walking by, and just like that, they disappear. He checks the other 2 cameras that are pointing toward the street. There are 3 in total, and realizes that all 3 show the same thing. So he immediately ruled out the possibility that it was a camera malfunction. Even though there seems to be some kind of cut or something strange in the image that can't be seen clearly because it's not the original image, it's actually filmed from a cell phone. It would have been great to be able to rule out all these issues. I wanted to view the original security camera recording, but it wasn't possible. He also realizes when this person is gone. The white car on the side in the image flashes its lights several times. This could have been a simple coincidence, or maybe it's related. We've already seen several cases like this, and we know it's perfectly possible. I'd love to know what you think about it. This was filmed in a town very close to Rosario. I can't give you much more information because I'm trying not to harm the person who sent the video. So that's it. Thank you all so much. That's the end of the video. I'll see you in a few days, and now I'm sending a big hug to everyone. Bye bye.